I think we can get going now. So again, welcome and thanks so much for your time today and for joining us on a very key topic on how to streamline European patent management. We will be presenting Questel solutions and also insights from Noventive and their experience of Questel's digital solutions. So moving on to the next slide. We have on our panel today our friends and colleagues from Noventive, Alex Fug and Jens Reinhardt. So over to you, Alex and Jens, for an introduction.
Cool. Thank you very much, Caroline. Also, thanks for having us. So my name is Alex Fug. I started my professional career now almost 20 years ago at SAP, so in the area of B2B enterprise software, and that across industries with a particular focus on customer experience management. So that means my very first job at that time was already understanding our customers better and lining our products onto it. And yeah, we will talk about Noventive much more in the following. So personally, I live in Munich, father of 2 kids and still small. And with that, over to Jens.
Thank you, Alex. And thank you, Caroline, also from my side for having us today here. To me, I started my career as an engineer at BMW. Then I did the training to become a patent attorney, was working for 3 different, well-known IP law firms in Munich, here in Munich. And I also worked in the IP department of a large corporate. And in 2019, as mentioned by Alex, we founded Noventive.
Thanks a lot. So I'm Caroline, and Caroline Chinique, and I'm a subject matter expert for patent services at Questel. I've been in the IP service space for longer than I'd like to admit, over 30 years, and worked in sales as a sales director, and have been at Questel since 2020. Basically, my role as an expert is to advise on the services and tools that we tailor to our clients' requirements at each stage of the patent lifecycle. I'm from the UK originally and live in France, and I manage the French, Benelux, and Southern European markets. I'll hand over to Torsten, who is my counterpart for the the DACH markets, so Germany, Austria, Switzerland.
Yeah, thank you so much, Caroline. Hello, everyone. My name is Torsten Kraus. As Caroline explained, I'm a colleague of hers. I'm also a subject matter expert responsible for the patent services at Questel on a different territory as Caro. I also used to be a sales director before, and I'm in this industry since 16 years now, living in Bonn and father of 1 son, but not small, in the middle of puberty. And I guess some of you will know what I mean. So very happy to be here today and welcome.
So let's get into it and look at what's on today's menu on the agenda. We can have the agenda slide. Great. So what we'll be doing is looking at some of the main challenges of European patenting and how an end-to-end EP services solution with the latest technology can overcome some of the key challenges, and importantly, see how Noventive have put this solution to good use in their business and for their own clients. But before we kick off, let's share a few words on Questel. If you could move on to the next slide. Thanks, Torsten. So those of you who may not be familiar with us, we're a French company, now with almost 2,000 employees worldwide, 20,000 clients in 30 countries. And basically our mission is to provide our clients with a one-stop shop for managing all of their IP. So what that means in concrete terms is a whole range of services and software professional teams and customer dedicated teams as well, working for our customers. And many of you may be familiar with some of our key brands like Orbit Intelligence, our legacy patent search database, the equivalent in trademarks with Markify, also our IP management systems, Equinox, and of course, our very comprehensive range of patent and trademark dedicated services, and more of that a bit later. Going on to the next slide, I'd like to touch upon some of the key challenges of European patent management, and imagine for a moment that you are in the shoes of a happy European patent owner whose patent has recently been granted, or perhaps also a European patent attorney whose customer has just obtained the European patent. It's not an easy process, so we can congratulate them for getting to this stage. But it's this point that some of the key challenges emerge. And it's necessary to take out the EP toolkit and to make some key decisions on getting quotations, instructing and monitoring deadlines. And none of this can be particularly easy. So moving on to the next slide. No, sorry, we'll stay on this slide for the time being. My apologies. The time-consuming element, if you could go back to the previous one. Sorry, Torsten. It can be very, very time-consuming to address all of these challenges. So there are the different steps, like the intention to grant with the associated claims translations, the taxes that have to be paid at the EPO. Then you have to think about the validation or the unitary patent filing, or a combination of the both. Validating, you may need to get powers of attorney organized, so that's another administrative headache. And then there are diverse translation requirements, which are country specific. You also may have to think about opting out of the Unified Patent Court. And then last but not least, of course, there are maintenance fees. So all of that can be very time consuming and complex to manage. And associated with that are some pretty high costs. According to the European Commission, for example, validations can account for up to 40% of the total cost of a European patent. So it's really, really important to ensure cost efficiency. You're also, as an IP law firm or a patent owner, having to potentially deal with what we call a fragmented workflow. So that means in practice dealing with single providers, perhaps an attorney, perhaps a translation company, getting those validation translations performed, a provider specialized just in validations, perhaps another one just doing the annuities. So all in all, it's a complex process, and you may not have an overall grasp of what you're paying, and you're having to instruct via different channels and managing invoices from multiple sources. And in this fragmented workflow, you may also be using what we call manual processes, so typically email. And when you're dealing with email and sending them out, getting acknowledgements of receipts, etc., you're inflating the risk of errors and inflating the risks of oversights. And it doesn't make it easy if you are using an IP management or docketing system to get that data into your system and keep it up to date. Ultimately, you have less time for higher priority projects because you're spending much too much time on these administrative tasks. So part of the solution, and we can move on to the next slide, is having a one-stop service. I mentioned the one-stop shop in my previous slide. And here at Questel, we have patiently, over the years, acquired companies that enable us, and I'm just referring to European patents today, but it's valid for all of our services, to ensure that our clients can come to a partner who is able to provide them with an end-to-end solution, giving you peace of mind. So just looking at this slide briefly, you can see here that once the patent has granted, we can handle the grant stage with the translations, the grant formalities. When it comes to the validations, we have our own translation company. So we perform the translations. We perform the validations ourselves in the jurisdictions that allow us to do that. We have partners in those where we use an agent. And for countries where validations are automatic, we provide an address for service. So this means that for all of the notifications that come from the local patent offices, Questel will transfer that information to you for the life of the patent. We also have the new Unified Patent Court and the unitary patents. Many of our clients will want to opt out their patents, and we have huge experience in this domain. For the 3-month window where companies were able to opt out their patents before the system came into force, so the so-called sunrise period, we managed some 75,000 opt-outs, developing a tool and using the expertise within the Questel group to have an extremely efficient and cost-effective opt-out service. Unitary patent filings, obviously they're part of our range of services today, and of course the unitary patent translations with a varied service offering that we tailor to our clients' needs. The unitary patent translations have no legal effect. Some clients will want our top-of-the-range patent translation services. Others may be happy with a human-assisted machine translation at a lower cost, but we give them the choice, obviously. We also have annuities management, and if we move on to the next slide, this is also a very critical component of our end-to-end European patent management service. So through Pavis, which is our flagship annuity management company, we ensure that our clients really have a top-of-the-line service. As you can see here on this slide, automation is a key component. We want to eliminate the risk of manual processes that can facilitate errors and oversights. The system is extremely automated. We're also compliant not only with ISO 9001 certification rather, which is true of all of our services, but also compliant with European directives that are designed to ensure online payments are secure and transparent. So we are a regulated company, regulated by the German financial authorities, as Pavis is based in Germany. Transparency, also extremely important. We're transparent about our costs, and you're safe in the knowledge that you're dealing with a team behind the screen who are accompany you at each step from onboarding to the implementation of our service. As you can imagine, with the size of the portfolios that we manage and our buying power, we're able to offer a very cost-effective service, and we offer global support around the world with a huge network of partners, agents who we work with to pay in jurisdictions where we don't pay directly. But again, going back to the human element, which is extremely important, the focus today is really on the end-to-end solution and the technology that we use, but it's also about the people that are on hand to help you at each step. On to the next slide, Torsten. Just to give you a quick glimpse of who Questel is and our expertise in this field, you can see some pretty big figures here in front of you. We manage some 50,000 foreign filings per year. We just don't work in the European market, but we are experts in filing routes around the world, all types of filing routes. European patent validations and UP filings account for 30,000 of that figure in front of you, and often associated with this foreign filing are the translations. We have our own translation company. We work for you, our customers, but we also work for the WIPO itself. And when it comes to annuities, we have over 1 million assets under our responsibility. So you can imagine with these huge numbers coming through Questel, these portfolios that are under our responsibility for our customers who are both corporations and IP law firms, we need some pretty state-of-the-art technology to support us and to support you. So I'm going to hand over to Torsten now, who will talk about some of the technology that we use for ourselves, but most importantly for our customers.
Yeah, thank you so much, Caro. Yeah, exactly. So we need to talk about technology because if you have to manage all these tasks that Caro has described earlier, it makes absolutely no sense to do this manually, and it makes no sense to have breaks in the processes. So there are many questions that everyone has regarding services that you buy in. And the first question is always, if you look at the orange part here, so do I really get enough value for my money? That's an important question. So what I'm really paying for, and the fees that I'm paying, am I really clear what I'm paying for? So Caro was mentioning the transparency already. But sometimes when you think about all the invoices that you receive from all over the world, from all the suppliers that you have, well, let's say there is a high level of creativity in invoicing, and the question is it really always clear what's exactly in it? Then the efficiency, of course. So the question is, do I waste my time and my resources? Again, when we talk about manual tasks for operational tasks to do, that doesn't make any sense. It's not creating any value if you do this manually. So you really should rather look on efficiency when it comes to everything that has substantial substance for you. That's substantial work that is creating value for your company, but not for operational tasks. And of course, I was mentioning this, the invoices, are they really compliant, and can I somehow reduce the amount of work or effort that I have to put in receiving invoices, reviewing invoices, checking invoices, and so forth? It's a lot of work to do. So this all can be done easier. And let's try to bring the pieces of this puzzle here together. So on the next slide, we see what our two key drivers are in this regard. So one is the efficiency in the processes, and the second is the cost. So these are the primary factors we always look at. Because when you offer all these services as a supplier, naturally it makes sense to bring them to the clients, to make it easy accessible for our clients, and not asking our clients to come to us and have or fragmented workflows, as Caro explained earlier. So this is exactly what we are looking at. Everything we do when we invest in technology at Questel, when we discuss internally how we can things do better, then this has to do with a higher level of automation to make it more efficient for our clients and save costs thereby. So that's always our approach. And what we want to achieve in this regard is to be the end-to-end integrated service IP provider. So we are a global leader, as you learned today, in patent filing and translation and validation. And we are also a global leader in annuities and other services. And so the idea is, how can we bring this all together? And when you, for instance, in your own organization, when you discussed or also started working on digitization, on being efficient in your own organizational structure, may it be as an IP department in a corporate, may it be as a law firm, and you have to deal with all your clients in the back, that's not the whole picture. So you have to think it through. It's towards your own organization, of course, or your end clients, but also it needs to be towards the one who are supplying you with services or with products and tools. And this is our task to do. So we are here to help you in this regard. So how are we doing this? We are, of course, able to deliver any type of service for wherever you are at the moment. So you may be at different steps in your digitization process in your own organization. And what you see here, for instance, that's a screenshot of the portal that we have for the services that we're talking about today. So validations and translation. So it's very easy to access this portal, to run estimates, and also to order, of course, for a validation project, but also to monitor what's going on. So how far is Questel, to see what has Questel done so far, documents which have been shared. And of course, you can then in the end manage all these projects in that portal. So that's a pretty easy to use portal which is used by many of our clients. And this is fantastic that we have it, and we will of course further work on that to make it even more interesting for our clients, offering more features. But this is a level of, let's say, efficiency, which can not be the end. So where we want to go is to offer all these services in your own systems. So what we learn is that all organizations today, no matter what, or most of them, they have an IP management system. Different ones at the market. It's quite a large market, the IPMS market. But these tools are getting more powerful. So they're really strong. And of course, the main purpose to have such tool is to be better organized. And everything that you're doing in IP in the end has to do with data. So you have to collect a lot of data. You have to maintain a lot of data in your very strong tool. And now the question is, who's feeding this tool with all the data that have to be maintained? And this is exactly where we're coming from. So offering the service that we have via API so that you can use your own IP management system like a cockpit, let's say that, where you can get access to all the different services of all the different providers, or at least what we offer. So we can see here on that screen is that on the right side, I exclude a little bit the renewals here, not because it's excluded in our approach, but this is quite common already. So talking about APIs for renewals is something you all heard about maybe already. But what you see on the left side, the European patenting support or filing support or translation, having this connected with your own IPMS, that's definitely not common in the world today. So we are quite a pioneer here. And we do this with our own IPMS, and we will see that in a second, but not only. So we have put a high effort in creating alliances and partnerships with independent software providers at the market so that we are able to create APIs with their IPMS systems. And I think that's the key also to give our clients the freedom of choice. So of course, we would be happy if our IP management system Equinox is interesting for you. But if not, if you have your own system and you want to keep it or something else is more interesting for you in the future, then you still should have the chance to get access to all the services in your IPMS. You should not be excluded from that. And that is why we put so much focus on all these alliances to create a seamless communication and data exchange. So just to see what we've done in our own system, which is called Equinox again. So we really created this as a cockpit. So you see Questel in the middle, and you see that this system, the IP management system, is connected to IP services. It's connected to trademark-related services with Markify. It's connected to Orbit. Caroline explained it. This is our flagship product, which was almost there at the beginning of Questel. But also the preparation, prosecution with Cuthina, for instance. So all the different tools that Questel has in its portfolio and all the service relates to that shall be connected to the system so that you are really sitting there and you can have your own system maybe also embedded in your own ERP landscape so that you can use the system to get access to all different sources in your organization, but also to the tools in our organization. So then you have really a seamless communication, and that's integrated services. So this all, of course, is also supercharged with AI. So that's a huge topic, not of today. That's another webinar. We had it already, and there will certainly be others to come. But this is really what Questel is about today. So when we look at all these pieces of the puzzles that we started with this short few minutes now and in the past 5 minutes, then now with what I've explained, we are able to bring the pieces of the puzzles together. And if you are really at this stage of automation, so that you have a tool connected to services, whatever you may need, then you can say, I have good value service because I can focus on substantial work, and everything else that is more operational can be done more or less automated. And the fees, competitive fees, that's something that Caro explained also earlier with the power that we have, with the size that we have, with the volumes that we have, we can create very, very good quotes and fees, of course. The process efficiency, well, again, It's data management. Everything we do in this can be automated, and the cost controlling as well, because if you do all these services with one touch point, then you can reduce the sheer amount of invoices significantly, and also you can have more standardized formats in your invoicing, which also makes it easier. So what's the result? You have external savings, so you reduce the cost really by getting better fees, cutting costs there, and internal savings because you're gaining more capacity and you save you save time for your staff, and thereby you can be much more efficient, and everything can be uploaded directly in your system. So this is a nice theory, of course, if we say that, but we would like to learn how this looks like in the real life. And that's why we have Noventive with us today, and they would like to explain how they're working. And I'm handing over now to you, Alex, and you, Jens.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Torsten. Yeah, Noventive. I guess in the third part of this webinar now, we want to talk about, or we actually want to answer exactly 3 questions. So first of all is, who is Noventive? For those who don't know us, you can actually stay on the first slide, please. The second one then will be, why have we chosen Questel? And the third one is, how does our collaboration and cooperation actually look like? Also with a couple of real life examples, Jens, that you will provide then. So who is Noventive? You see it already here. It seems like it's the combination of a tech company on the one hand with an IP law firm on the other hand. And if you think about it, how we actually decided for it, that all goes back to the year 2019 when we founded the companies. And at that time, after I had been at SAP, I was in consulting, actually building up a business area called Mobility and Smart City. So why is this relevant? Because that was all about digital business models with platform economic principles around it. So essentially multiple stakeholders, and it needs to work in a highly automated way. And at that time, Jens was still, I think, with one of the very well-known law firms here in Munich. And we found it was a crux. It was about the greatest innovations of tomorrow, but actually the protection, especially at that time, of these innovations was not innovative at all. So Jens was actually, as a fully blown patent attorney, sitting in an office, being suited up all day, and at that time still working on paper cases. I was like, hey, it's about these innovations. So we asked ourselves, how could we actually develop a model that is digital in its core and focuses on human interaction? So that is when we founded Noventive as a tech firm and then the IP law firm associated with it. And now, Torsten, if we can go to the next slide, please. How does the business model really looks like? So we have our tech firm in the middle. You can already see that we're currently in the process of founding and adding additional locations. So the Noventive associates are growing. And what you can also see is that we do, of course, have the IP creator side with a lot of companies now within just 5 years. And we do have now also very many IP professionals, specialized patent attorneys that trust in us. And we obviously treat both as customers. And if you look then on the tech stack, we have actually built ourselves 2 products. One is called Noventive Core. That is really a workflow automation platform to manage the entire workflows within an IP law firm, because we found early that it's not just about case management, but there are a lot of side processes. So that is what we're doing with Noventive Core. And then we also built Fluid, which is an service marketplace and client portal. And as you can see, meanwhile, we are in touch with Questel, and it's really a developing and evolving partnership. So let's quickly answer the question, why we build everything. If we go to the next slide, because I think it comes back to this administrative burden that is pretty characterizing for this industry, because this industry, for a lot of good reasons, has a lot of administrative overhead. And we did an analysis back in 2019 and looked at the key effort drivers in the daily IP work. What we found is there are 4, and the first one in bright blue here, that is the reason why a corporate and innovative company actually reaches out to an IP law firm to get legal advice from a patent attorney. And then, however, you have the entire organization, the back office, quality assurance, the communication with official authorities in every single country. Then you have the national representatives and everything that comes around with it. So that is all necessary. But from a perspective, the value driver really is the first part. So what we have done essentially is, if we go to the next slide, that we have really worked hard the last couple of years to digitalize and automate as much as possible in order to put the actual focus on the value creating part. And that means especially the human interaction with the patent attorney and with the client. Yeah, so if we step to the next slide, we answer the question, what does this mean for our clients? What do I see as an innovative company? So we focus on the substantive legal part of the work. That means as a client, you see we have the Noventive Associates. With the Noventive Associates, we have the very many attorneys already. We guarantee always direct access to the attorney who actually works on the case, on the property right. And right from the beginning, we have always worked with fixed prices already, which is a challenge, as Thorsten described a bit earlier. But we will come to this in the next example shortly. Beforehand, on the right-hand side, you see Fluid. So that is really the client portal, or then from a client's perspective, a supplier portal, where you can find the attorney not on a partner model, but on really the business expertise that matches best, and where you can then end-to-end collaborate with your attorney in a secure way. And what also comes with Fluid is an open API. So already also showing that we have exactly the right or the same mindset between Questel and Noventive. So let's have a look at how it looks like with Questel and why we have actually chosen Questel. If we go to the next slide, I think in a nutshell, the why have we chosen Questel is super easy. I think that has really been right from the beginning a 100% match, because we focus on the patent attorney work and an end-to-end process automation within the law firms, and at the same time we found Questel, who do not only share the same digital mindset but offer this wide solutions and services portfolio. Because we have here on the right-hand side, we have just illustrated the value chain that actually iterates per property right very often. And if you look at single steps in this value chain, we all know, probably here in this webinar, that these are very in-depth and very detailed. So if you just look at paying annuity fees, for example, it was completely out of question that right from the beginning, when we founded Noventive, that we pay annuity fees ourselves, because it looks easy at first in your home jurisdiction, but at the latest, if you go international, there's so much stuff being involved, and it is just an administrative side effect. As a customer, as a client, I don't want to pay for manual efforts in paying an annuity fees. So that probably is a very good example. So we used the Pavis or Questel services right from the beginning, through portals, meanwhile through an API. And that is always how we actually approach our own digitalization and the partnership with Questel. So we try new services, for example, with the portals that are available. If that works, if that aligns with our processes, what it has always done so far, we then continue and build the APIs. And I think last but not least, what you can also see here, there are also horizontal arrows that we included, and these horizontal arrows clearly indicate that we have much more ahead of us even, and really look forward to even deeper integrations with Questel. Yeah, but with that, Jens, over to you to share some details on that looks in the day-to-day work.
Yes, thank you, Alex. Yeah, before giving you a real-life example, I would like to give you a quick look into the past, because in my view, traditionally, law firms worked a little bit like government offices, in my view. They had their focus on their self-organization, but not on the needs of their clients. And the law firms wanted the clients to adapt to their processes to the way the law firm works, but not the other way around. And if a client had a request, for example, it often took a very long time to get a response. Fixed prices were often not possible. But today the requirements have changed a little bit, or not a little bit, but they have deeply changed, because today, in our view, the clients want the law firms to adapt to their processes. And to be a real partner for us as a law firm, we need to fit into the client's infrastructure, and not the other way around. And that means, for example, the clients would like to have transparency in our work. They would like to know who's working on what, how much it will cost, when it will be done. They want to know the price before they give us a job, and they want quick answers, not only in urgent cases, but in general. And now to come to a real life example, let's imagine a client calls us regarding the validation of a European patent or nationalization of a PCT application. And it's an urgent case. They need a quick answer. They want to know what it will cost. What is the traditional way? One of our paralegals would now send several requests to several foreign agents asking for a fixed price, for example. And then, a few questions arise. The first is when we will get answer and prices from the foreign agents. Unfortunately, we do not know when we can send the complete quote to our client. We not know as well because we are dependent on the foreign agents on their feedback, and that's exactly the situation where Questel comes in now and brings us big advantages. Because in that case, if you need prices for an EP validation, for example, we just enter, or we just open the QSP, the Questel service portal. We enter the patent number, the desired jurisdictions, and immediately we get the complete cost overview ready to download. And of course, we plan to connect our whole system with APIs to the Questel service portal, which is an ongoing process. And furthermore, we get the invoice very quickly from Questel, always in the same format. So that means it's easy to check. And if we talk about the European patent validation, for example, with 5 or 6 countries, we get just one single invoice and not 5 different ones in different formats. No, it's one single invoice, always the same format. And overall, we share the same digital mindset, Noventive and Questel, and it's fun working together, I would say.
100% agreement from my side. I think essentially to sum this up, well, we actually always focused, of course, on our home jurisdiction and everything we could actually already steer within our boundaries, within our IP law firms. Questel really adds to this with the global range and possibility to really have the fact to have all the following value steps deeply digitalized, and integrating with those really means that we have all these advantages, Torsten, that you put together in this puzzle a little bit earlier. So I think we can come to the conclusion on the next slide, and then look if there are any questions.
One question, if I may, to you, Alex and Jens. And would you say that this also helped you to improve your clients' experience to a better level?
Of course, we can be very fast. As I said before, we are not dependent on the responses of foreign agents. We can rely on your responsiveness, which is always very fast. We send an email to you, and the answer, it's we have it within minutes, which is absolutely great. So absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
I think the topic plannable, or being transparent and being in a situation where you can really plan ahead, that is something that we always have stood for at Noventive right from the beginning. And the example that Jens provided is, as soon as it becomes international, and clearly IP is an international global case, it becomes so complicated, and there are so many small steps involved, referring to the example that Jens gave, that we didn't have it in our hand anymore. But now with this corporation and with your services, we're still able to give the same USPs and the same promise to our clients, because we now know how much it's going to cost. So if we have to promise to our clients that they know ahead how much it's going to cost, we can still stick to this, even though we want to go to Japan, for example. So yeah, it really comes back here to this conclusion. So it is really about streamlining processes. Torsten, you said it a bit earlier. It's about seamless communication and data exchange. So we have always looked in a horizontal way to really connect our dots and streamline our processes. And as soon as we have these wider examples that we just shared, it really helps to have your services deeply connected here, and especially also integrated, referring to the APIs. And that then leads to the two items that we discussed a bit earlier. So that leads to efficiency, that leads to cost optimizations, because clearly, if I do not even need to fill out a portal, if I have the API integration, it is again reduced efforts and everyone gains from it. And we can focus on the substantive part again. And yeah, we can only say it has been always fun already, and we're really looking ahead on the additional integrations that we're currently planning. And thank you so much.
No. Thank you both for sharing your insights and experience of working with Questel. You talked about how integration makes the process that much more streamlined and easy. It also reduces risk because you're not having to export files and then re-import them. You're working from the comfort of the digital cockpit, so benefiting from ease of use, but also reducing the margins for error and omissions. I see we have a few questions. We've been asked if we could send the slides after the meeting. Yes, of course, you will all receive a copy of the slides. We also have a question. Do you have a list of third-party IPMS software providers which you collaborate with? Torsten, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, we do. I mean, first of all, let's say the idea started a little bit with Pavis, because Pavis is having APIs already since 16 or 17 years. It started then with IP management providers, software providers. And since then, we have extended it on an ongoing basis, and we are still doing that all over the globe also. And not only in let's say the core regions where Pavis was active in the past. So this is an ongoing process. And yes, of course, if you're interested in that, we can share with you the IP management systems that we collaborate with. Yeah. And if we don't have your IP management system yet in our list, so let's include it. This is something we used to do.
Great. We also have a question about translation. In terms of translation, how do you manage the quality? I can take that one. In terms of translation quality, I would see there are three key elements. First of all, it depends on the translators. So we have a team of translators who are scientists or engineers by training, trained also in the art of patent translation. So we have the resources to translate basically in all technical fields. Secondly, it's about checking, revision. It's incredibly important when you're translating patents that you're including all of the text. It may sound very basic, but you really don't want to omit any text in a patent translation, and also conversely exceed the scope of the patent that you're translating. So the revision process is extremely important, critical even, and we do have ISO certified processes around that. And then lastly, technology. Obviously, we're in a technology-driven world now. AI is certainly bringing a lot to the translation business. So at Questel, we are leveraging all of these state-of-the-art technologies to ensure that we are providing the highest quality, consistency from case to case, and also optimizing costs, because the tools and technology that we deploy in our work ensures that we are always cost effective. So yeah, and just on that point, if any of you in today's meeting would like more information from us or quotations on any of our services, please do reach out to us.
There's one more question, Carol, about the agents we work or can work with. Would you like to take this? Shall I? Up to you.
Sure. So we have a very comprehensive network of agents. We work with agents for our translation and filing services. We also work with agents for the annuities and indeed all types of IP renewals. We have a department within Questel which is dedicated to identifying our partners, bringing them on board, making sure that they comply with our requirements. These agents, when it comes to well, the jurisdiction, we want to make sure that we have a very comprehensive geographical coverage. And that they are partners, for example, when it comes to filings, who cover all types of technologies. And once they're onboarded, it doesn't stop there. We regularly evaluate them in terms of their technical expertise, but also other key criteria like their responsiveness. We want to make sure that we are very responsive in the way that we work with our clients. We also need our partners and suppliers to comply with those very high requirements.
I would like to add one thing here, because the question was also if we can work with the client's preferred agents. So this is a little bit depending on the service. So for instance, for the trademark renewals, yes, makes sense, because changing agents may be very costly, because there's notarization, legalization to do, maybe, for instance. So the POA management, or the how do you say, if in the Emirates, for instance, if you have to provide them with an apostille, that can be quite expensive. That doesn't make sense to change the agents then. For annuities, usually that's not requested. For the validation and for the filings, so we work through our agent network. Thereby we can create the fixed cost and also this high level of digitization in our processes that we can pass through to our clients. Would we change permanently the agents we work with for such services? That wouldn't be possible any longer. So then we would have always individual pricing. So in other words, for the pure operative tasks, we work through our agent network. But for instance, for the filings, we do hand over to the prosecution agents of our clients later on, after we've done the filing, and then we take ourselves back. And then let's say you do the substantive work with your preferred agents, but for the pure operative and administrative tasks, we would use our agent network only.
And yes, again, we've had another question about the presentation. We will be sharing the presentation with all of you after the meeting today. And just going on to the last slide, if you could, Torsten.
Sure.
You have our contact details. Obviously, we will be sending the slides, but feel free to reach out to me or to Torsten for any more information. And if any of you are specifically interested in the services of Noventive, we will obviously pass on your request to our friends Alex and Jens.
And by the way, my email address is, of course, com at the end. So that's just a typo.
Okay. Well, thank you again so much for your time today, and wishing you all a very good day and end of the week, and hope to meet you all again at another Questel webinar. Thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.